Is it on, Shelley?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep. No,
Okay, if you've stuck around or if you're in the room, we are moving on to exiting student follow-up record, FW procedural checklist. And again, I don't know how many people have to do this. The first part of this is for your CTE students, your concentrators. And so there will be a number of us that would have received a file, and I know we've even got questions on that file actually through the help desk. So exiting student follow-up. Districts are required to gather data to report on exiting students from the prior school year. So this is last year's seniors. Previously, districts were required to report follow-up records on concentrators in March of every year. And I don't know if anybody ever remembers that. We had to do all that through the flat file editor. And it was a lot harder than it is now, in my opinion. Now that it's included in our collection, it makes it so much easier. So there are two windows for reporting: the initial exiting student, which is your CTE, the follow-up, and then of course the final. So we're going to do, they're all done in the S collection is where you're going to find that. The updates and transfers are all done in the S collection. So in the first collection, concentrators are what they're looking at. They're looking at what concentrators did you have that you need to report all their information on. So most of us have done a spreadsheet of some sort, or you pick up the form that the Ohio Department of Education or DO has put out there for you that gives you questions for the students, and then you put in their answers. Usually someone either makes that call or does it by, email that goes out to all of those kids to fill out all that information. We all know how well that works out getting this information. We can only do what we can find. That's it. And I don't know how many in here have to actually do this, the actual input of the data that you receive from whether it's a teacher, the guidance office, whatever. But this kind of goes through what DO is looking for and what they want you to answer. Do you get all those questions answered? Most likely not. But you need to do the best you can, because that also shows up in other areas on the report card, especially I think the Career Center report card, as far as getting all this data in, especially on concentrators. So I think this particular database for your concentrators is going to close on January 6th. So you think, oh, it's just October. Well, to be able to get all this information is going to take some time. Another thing districts do, which I highly recommend, is they do a survey during graduation practices where their seniors fill out, hey, I'm going to Akron University. This is what I'm taking. Ours, a lot of districts include a lot of other stuff on it, not just for the exiting, but that gives you a baseline, especially if you can't get hold of a kid or a parent. Really, once they're gone, sometimes they don't want to hear from you. So to have a resource before they've left and given up on the homeschool and moved on to whatever college or whatever work they've decided to do, whatever that may be, to have that information involved in that final is really helpful, really helpful. And it goes through here, basically, it tells you the follow-up records. What's their employment status? How much are they working per week? Are they in an apprenticeship, post-secondary? What's going on with this student? So really wanting to know exactly what the student's plans were. And a lot of times the guidance office or a teacher may compare what they said they were going to do right before they graduated in comparison to what they're actually doing come September, October of the school year. Some kids, they'll put on there, I'm taking a year off. Well, that isn't an option to take a year off. It should be an option, because you always have a number of kids that is what they mark on there. So as you go down through here, it just tells you what they're looking for. Did they enlist in the military? I have went as far as, when I couldn't get a hold of a kid at one point, I looked him up on Facebook just to see if maybe they were doing something out there. And I have found kids that, maybe they started their own business. Maybe they're doing beautician work now, or they're doing nails or whatever. I've actually found out what they're doing. I didn't find out everything, but I found out enough to put something in on their survey. And I usually put where I found it, so everybody knows. So you're going to find that the first thing all they're looking for is concentrators. Okay. But the next time they're going to be looking for the special ed in all graduates. They want all the graduates now. So it used to be you had to make, maybe you had to make 15 calls, maybe you had to make 70 calls, like almost an entire graduating class at one of the schools that I know. But you could, that's a lot of phone calls. So again, having that exit survey at the end of the school year will help you get through most of this. Now, what you have to do, so everybody knows, is you actually have to go in to your VRF data collector to be able to upload the file. Okay. So when you go in there and you go down to your exiting student follow-up, which is like halfway, you can see whatever district I'm in, it has not been submitted yet. But if I go to the level 2 reports and I show those reports, there's my file. I need to download this file in a CSV format, and then I need to take this file and upload it into student information. So I would save this file. I would go into student information. Whoops, not there though. Yeah, maybe. Exiting student follow-up records. Oh, that's where I go to get it. I'm so sorry about that. It's management, it's import export, and I'm going to go down through here and I'm going to look for my student follow-up. Where is it? Oh, right here. EMIS follow-up record import. I would browse, I would save it, I would browse, and I would upload it. Now I happen to know that I have uploaded it somewhere because I messed with this morning. Once that's uploaded, I would then want to go in and make sure that those kids actually were uploaded. And I can go in here and I can see all of those kids were uploaded. Now you can also upload all of their results onto a spreadsheet. You can do that too, if that's what you want to do. I have typically done this one by one. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. I have done it one by one because I just panic a little bit on the upload process, but there is an upload process. So I would make sure once I uploaded that, and I know some of you have because you're asking about certain kids that maybe were not in that upload, or sometimes I receive kids in the upload that I don't think should be there. And if you delete them, you get a missing student over in your exiting student follow-up. So it's kind of a strange situation. So as we go through this, we're going to go on to page 4 because I always have to, go off the track because I've done it. So I'm thinking, oh, well, I'll just talk right off the cuff. So I told you how to obtain the file. You obtain the file from your EMIS-R, exiting student follow-up, level 2 reports. Sometimes I'm looking all over the place for that, just so everybody knows. It's right where it should be, just so everybody knows. So that's page 5. Then we've already moved to task 2, which is page 6, and that's to import that file. It tells you that it's got to be in the CSV format, how to import it, the breadcrumb trail. And then I always just go in and check to make sure if I was supposed to have 46 records, that I have 46 records that were imported. Now, at this point, I don't know, did it import the right kids? Did it not import the right kids until I actually pull all of their follow-up information? Now, sometimes the guidance office will go in and input all this for you because they have the data in their office. They're the ones that took the survey. In some districts, the CTE teacher at Northwestern, the CET teacher wants to be the person that completes that follow-up. They understand that it was done at the end of last year, but they want to connect with that student again because they want to be sure whatever goes in there is correct, because that's know who gathers that information in anyone's district, but it does have to be uploaded by you there. Now you can at that point say, hey, it's in there. Go ahead and fill out for every student if that's what your district does, or if that's what you do. I cannot speak to that, but you can do it, or you can assign it to someone else. You know, if you have that power, you're going to go in and do the maintenance, which is exactly what we've seen here. We go in, we find this kid, employment status, yes or no, career field, is there a career field? How many hours are they working every week? Or on over, maybe that's a no, and they're just going to post-secondary education. Okay, yep, they are. What type? 2-year, 4-year college. Okay, anything else going on there? And as you go, how long have they been enrolled there? Have they enrolled since, they left high school or not? So that is the maintenance on that. Now, once you get this done, you're going to do the same thing we did with the L collection. You're going to go into EMIS. You're going to transfer. Oh, get my glasses on. Sorry. This is all done in the S collection. When you hit transfer there, I always transfer everything, but look at the very first one, exiting student follow-up, FF record, FW record. That is what's going to upload into EMSR. So if I transfer this, file transfer, I'm going to wait for it to come over. When I go back in here, I'm going to go to my collection request, and I'm going to say, well, I'm going to start this collection, and I'm going to see what happens. I'm going to start it. I'm going to prepare it. I'm going to see what level ones I have, and then I'm going to submit it to ODE, and then ODE will come out with a level 2 report. Maybe you missed something. Maybe you've just, and the level ones usually picks if you've missed a box. It'll tell you, hey, you've missed a box. Go in and click, find out what this box needs. So that's really basically exiting student follow-up. That makes it sound so simple and so quick, but it isn't. And we all know that it isn't. Just imagine the career centers. Do you guys have do you have to do a ton of these? Like over 400. So when you look at your 10 to 70 kids, you could always think about the career center that is doing over 400. So if it makes you feel better, then that surely will help, right? Thanks, Cheryl, for making that sound better. Didn't you have that issue last year? I was thinking you did too. I'm trying to think what happened with that and how that you would, and so that could be the key. That's why those kids are there, because you do have to report their stuff, even though they're career center, but because they're special ed. So like sometimes people get kids that you think these kids should not be on here. Sometimes I just call, like if they're open enrolled somewhere, I'm so frustrated. I just call and get the information from the other district and I upload it. And then sometimes after you've done that, it'll say that you reported a student you didn't need to. So first I'm missing it. Then I've reported an extra student. So sometimes being patient on this, like the first couple weeks are a little rough, but Debbie, yours will need to be reported because they're special ed. So that's going to come up in a collection. So any other questions on this exiting student follow-up?
If we don't have we just don't submit.
Exactly. If you don't have concentrators was the question, we don't submit, and that is correct. Some of you will not have concentrators. Wow, I had one of those too. Well, she's on this list because she's special ed. You still report her. So like I called, like those are ones I called all the special ed parents because we had, 12 or so. And so I called them to find out, like what their student was doing now, because they were, some of them were MRDD, maybe more severely handicapped than others. And, I don't know exactly what OD wants from us on those. I mean, I have a parent who said, yeah, they're sitting right here. And that's what they do. And I think it's kind of intrusive that we would ask those questions, but I said, oh, I just use it as, hey, we're just following up, checking on them. Are they doing okay? Did they find something that they like to do? I mean, because some of them do go to the workshops and work and stuff like that. So I do make those calls for the MRDD, and I did have the same thing. So you do need to report it.
Brenda, did you have something to ask for, FA render?
Task 4.
You're not gonna mention.
Oh, you know what? I didn't turn my page over. Thank you. You know, Rebecca, my copier doesn't copy both sides. I forgot about that. Yeah, so you can see task 4. I'm just gonna go back on that. We're just gonna touch on that lightly because, that's a great point. Thank you. Task 4. Okay, so you can see this. Exiting industry credential, GW record. Now, if your district has students to be reported in the CTE, which is this first one, exiting student follower who earned a CTE industry credential within 6 months of leaving the district. So I don't know, do you guys track those too at the vocational school? Okay, because I,
Practical nursing, students achieve things like summer.
right. So yeah, would be some kids out there that have a career where they would be finishing in the summer. So within that 6 months. And I do think that would be more toward career centers. I don't know if high schools have those careers that they would go back in, like maybe a beautician has to file for the. Yeah, I was just thinking that because my niece had the same thing. She didn't pass it the first time, so she had to go in, and I don't think she got within the 6 months, but a lot of people would fall in that 6-month category to get their license. So that would be, I would think that would be more career center, but if you guys look into your district and you guys have CTE courses that require that additional, and I'm not sure who would. I'm trying to think, cosmetology, definitely. Nursing, definitely. Yeah, I think I can't think any off the top of my head, but I think those two, and some districts may offer that now. I don't know.
But if a student, say, completes their nursing credentials over the summer through, because that's a CTE program through the Career Center, that's not ours, that wouldn't impact or benefit the resident district as far as like the CCMRW component, would it?
That's a great question, Heather. She's asking if it would impact the CC. What is it?
MR Ready.
MR Ready, whatever. I should know that by heart. I would want to look into that. I'm wondering if it could.
Last year, we had a student that principal, when they were going over the level 2 report for that CCMRW data, they knew of a student who completed their nursing credentials, wanted me to report it, but then now I'm thinking like, how would that benefit us as a resident district? Because that's not a CT approved program for us. But yeah, the career center would, so it's like, why would he have had us?
So
Why would that
in
have-
general on your report
I
card
don't
is the
remember.
positive.
I don't remember.
and since it's done a year
It was, like,
later,
last minute type of thing, like, oh, we've got.
but you're right, we would have taken the career center transfer, but we wouldn't do one right now that would have that GW record, right? Would that be something that the district would need to do? We need to look into that. That's a really good question. Because it's last year's. And so you could get the information from them, but who's the reporter on that? If they've got it in the summer is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys would be, because, yeah, they would be, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it would be them.
It's still different. That's-
Yeah.
But what the career center does affect your C ready. It does affect that. Because when they're doing their work-based learning hours and that program code, all that comes over, all that affects you. Ultimately. I know. Yeah, that would be interesting to find out, Heather. But yeah, that would all be done because it's done a year later and they're saying, hey, even if it took them 6 months, report it then. So, okay. Great questions. Great. Oh, I'm so surprised, Heather. It was you that muddied the water.
Summer